I'm Clara, a 35-year-old office worker. Ever since my husband, Ethan 2 years my junior, was transferred, we've been temporarily staying with my in-laws. It was meant to be a short-term arrangement, but Ethan seems to be getting too comfortable here. Meanwhile, I'm eager to find a place of our own and move out as soon as possible. The main issue is that I just don't get along with my in-laws, especially my mother-in-law, Martha. Her sarcasm, always present before our marriage, has only intensified since we moved in. Clara, haven't you gone shopping yet? Martha calls out one afternoon, her tone laced with irritation. You missed the sale at the supermarket. You really need to get better at managing your time. Really, I mutter under my breath. My company permits telecommuting, but that doesn't change the fact that weekdays are still work hours. I can go shopping during the supermarket's sale times, I tell her, trying to remain patient. I've told you many times, Martha, I'm working during the day, so I can't shop until after 5 p.m. Martha, however, always finds a way to twist things, always so high and mighty. And you still can't bear a child, barren as you are, she snaps, her words like venom. Ethan and I don't have children. We haven't pursued extensive medical testing, so we're not sure who might be the issue. I've always wanted children, but with David's earnings, expensive infertility treatments were beyond our reach. Martha's sarcasm was a problem even before we started living together, but it was more bearable when we were apart. Now, living under the same roof, I'm subjected to her sharp remarks around the clock. My father-in-law, Roger, doesn't direct his sarcasm at me, but his attitude is just as frustrating. He seems to view any woman over 30 as old, and now that I'm 35, he treats me like I'm practically a senior citizen. Hey, old lady, hand me the ashtray, he grunts from his armchair one evening. Another time, as I'm leaving for work, he says, why are you wearing a skirt? Nobody wants to see an old woman's legs. If I'm an old lady, then what does that make him at 60? I want to snap back, but I know it'll only make things worse. I'm not one to stay silent when I'm mistreated, so I often respond to my in-laws' rudeness. Unfortunately, this just earns me a reputation for being disrespectful and makes our relationship even more strained. The constant tension in the house is wearing me down. I'm reaching my breaking point. Meanwhile, David's work has become more demanding since his transfer, with increased weekend shifts and frequent business trips. We haven't even had a chance to discuss moving out. Clara, I've got another business trip this weekend, Ethan announces one Friday morning. You just had one. I protest, my frustration bubbling over. Your new branch really requires a lot of travel. Can't help it, right? Jobs change with the workplace, he says with a shrug. That's true, but this change is extreme. Because of it, we haven't been able to even start looking for a new place, even though staying with my in-laws was supposed to be temporary. What if we end up stuck here indefinitely? I ask, my voice tinged with fear. Then, one day, while unpacking David's bag after he returned from a business trip, I find a piece of paper tucked in a pocket. At first, I think it's a receipt for his flight and hotel. But when I look closer, I'm stunned. It's a printed reservation for a hotel stay, complete with tickets to a theme park, for 2 people. The date on the receipt is for yesterday, the same day Ethan was supposed to be on his business trip. David's company is involved in seafood, not theme parks. It's clear he wasn't on a business trip, as he claimed. Instead, he spent 2 days at a theme park. And the reservation for 2, it's a safe bet he went with someone else. As I stand there, stunned, I can hear Ethan humming in the bathroom. It's a world of laughter. He sings the theme song from a well-known attraction. He must be humming it, reminiscing about his time at the park. Although I'm certain the attraction isn't at the park he visited, it seems that on a trip like this, the specific attractions are irrelevant. I consider confronting him in the bathroom, but just then, David's phone rings. Filled with irritation and lacking composure, I pick up the call. "Hello," I say, my voice sharp with anger. For a brief moment, I hear a young woman's voice on the other end of the line before the call abruptly ends. It had to be the woman Ethan went to the theme park with his mistress. When she heard my voice, she must have panicked and hung up. I immediately checked David's call history. Not being very security conscious, David's phone is probably protected by a simple password, likely his 4-digit birthday. I guess correctly, and the phone unlocks without issue. What I find inside makes my head spin. His phone is filled with irrefutable evidence of his affair, selfies with a young woman, all taken during times he claimed to be on business trips or working weekends. He was dangerously careless, leaving such explicit photos easily accessible. I scroll through the call history once more and find a contact named Lily. I search for that name in his social media friends list and open their chat. "David, I love you," the message reads. "I can't wait to become your wife." Lily, it seems, was hoping to marry David. A homewrecker, perhaps. As I wrestle with this revelation, Ethan emerges from the bathroom. "Ah, I feel so refreshed," he says casually, drying his hair with a towel. I seize the moment to confront him. "Refreshed? What exactly are you refreshed from? It looks like you've been enjoying yourself in more ways than one." "Who's Lily?" How?" he stammers, his face going pale as soon as I mention his mistress's name. "So it's true, you've been lying about your business trips and spending time with a woman named Lily. I can't forgive you for these lies. How could you?" "What the?" he stutters. I pull out his phone and show him the damning evidence. "This phone has all the evidence I need," I say firmly. "You went through my phone, that's a breach of privacy." Ethan protests. A man who cheats and shows such a blatant disregard for morals complaining about privacy is almost comical. "If you didn't want this exposed, you should have protected your phone better," I say coldly. "I made a promise when we married, no cheating, or it's an immediate divorce. I've always upheld that promise, and I can't continue being married to someone who pursues other women. It's time for us to get a divorce." To my surprise, Ethan simply nods in agreement. "Yeah, I guess so," he says meekly. His reaction is unexpected. I thought he would fight it more. Was he already bracing for a divorce the moment his affair came to light? "I'll start preparing the paperwork tomorrow." "You should talk to your parents," Ethan says. His easy agreement surprises me, but once I make a decision, I stick to it. This is the end of our married life. The next day, I feel a pang of sadness as reality sets in. I leave early in the morning to handle the divorce paperwork and run some errands. When I get back late at night, Ethan and my in-laws are waiting for me. "You're finally back. I was wondering where you'd disappear to," Martha says, her tone dripping with sarcasm. Given that David's there, they must know about his affair and the impending divorce. Shouldn't they be offering apologies, or at least acknowledging the situation before making snide comments instead of expressing any regret? Martha says something utterly shocking. "Well, it's about time. I'm actually relieved you're leaving. I didn't want to see your face any longer, so it's good you were out all day." "What do you mean by that?" I ask, my voice edged with confusion. Martha gives me a smug smile. "Just what I said," she sneers. I've grown tired of seeing your face. Even though Ethan finally returned, you've been an obstacle. I tried to drive you out with my nagging, but you, with your lack of charm, just argued back. So I had to use my last resort. Last resort, I ask, puzzled. Martha's smile turns cunning. You know David's girlfriend's name, right? Yes, it's Lily. Interesting, Martha says with a smirk. I have a friend at my social club, Grace. Her daughter is a very polite and charming 25-year-old. Minus 10 years younger than you. Young enough to start a family. Then, Martha drops a bombshell. So, I introduced Ethan to Catherine's daughter. I'm stunned. I can't believe Martha would openly admit to such a thing. You're telling me, Martha, that you orchestrated David's affair. Oh, don't make it sound so dramatic. I merely facilitated an introduction, Martha says with a dismissive wave. I'm horrified by Martha's bold confession. The idea of a mother deliberately setting up her son to cheat and then bragging about it to his wife is chilling. Well, it had to be done, Martha continues nonchalantly. Ethan is our only child, and we need an heir. If you had managed to have a child, I might have been more accepting. But you chose to focus solely on your career and never had a baby. Roger nods in agreement beside Martha, making it clear that he was aware of her actions. Do you understand? A 35-year-old woman who can't have children is no longer needed. Now that you get it, you should leave right away. Martha points at me with a triumphant look. After a brief pause, I reply, I understand your perspective perfectly. As you wish, I'll leave. I'll take all my belongings with me. Sure, do as you please. You don't have much anyway. Should I send someone to help you? Martha offers with a smirk, clearly misjudging the situation. But the real irony is on her. No need. I've already taken care of everything, I say calmly. Martha's surprise is evident as she notices I'm not upset or falling apart. Besides, Martha, I already knew you were helping Ethan with his affair. I smirk at Martha. What do you think I was doing all day? If it had only been about preparing divorce paperwork, it wouldn't have taken so long. I spent the day arranging the move and meeting with Lily. What, you met with Lily? David's voice is filled with panic. Why wouldn't I? Did you think I wouldn't confront her after discovering your betrayal? When I found her number on your phone yesterday, I made sure to call her. With a resolute tone, I continue, poor Lily, though. When I called her and introduced myself as David's wife, wanting to meet, she was stunned. Apparently, you told her you were single. I made sure she knew the whole truth. David, Martha, and Roger are visibly shocked. They hadn't expected me to take such decisive action in just one day. Lily was devastated when she realized she had been the other woman without knowing it, and Catherine was furious. She even considered suing for marriage fraud. I felt so sorry for her that I promised to support her in any way I could. What? David's voice trembles, and Martha looks equally stunned by Lily's unwitting involvement. I've decided not to seek compensation from Lily. Instead, I'll be increasing the compensation demanded from you, David. And from you too, Roger and Martha. Compensation? Why should we have to pay? Roger blurts out, panic rising in his voice. Ethan may be responsible for his actions, but we're not involved, Roger adds, clearly shocked. It seems they had expected Ethan to bear the full burden of compensation for his affair, never anticipating they would be held accountable as well. There's no such thing as a free pass. You're all involved. The emotional distress caused by your harassment as in-laws is more than enough reason for compensation, I say with a dismissive smile, leaving Roger grumbling in silence. And have you forgotten my profession? I work at a law firm. I'll be consulting with Nathan, our head attorney, to determine the amount of compensation we can pursue. I had, of course, already contacted Nathan at the firm earlier that day. What? Roger stammers in disbelief. Just then, the sound of a car pulling up to the front gate is heard. Ah, they're here. It's the moving service, I say with a broad smile, heading towards the door. Thank you for coming on such short notice. I apologize for the late request. No problem at all. We had a slot open for tonight's service, and it worked out perfectly since I finished my errands late, the mover says. Great. Please get started and be extra careful with the fragile items, I instruct as I welcome them inside. Several movers begin packing up my belongings, including my clothes, books, computer, and the appliances from the living room and kitchen. Wait a minute. I hear Martha's voice as the movers efficiently pack everything. Hey! Don't take that. Those items belong to us. She protests. No, these are all mine, I say firmly. I brought them into the house when I moved in with David. The in-laws' house had only outdated appliances when we arrived. As someone who loves gadgets, I couldn't tolerate that, so I brought my own from my previous apartment. Martha has gotten used to them and mistakenly assumed they were hers. The robot vacuum, cordless cleaner, the multi-function oven, the IH cooking heater, the negative ion hair dryer, and the espresso machine. You're taking everything. How greedy! Martha shouts, trying to lunge at me. But Ethan steps in to stop her. Mom, it can't be helped. All those things belong to Clara, Ethan says, clearly resigned to the situation. Martha isn't ready to concede, though. Once you've experienced the convenience of modern appliances, you'll find it hard to go back. If you're unhappy, you can always buy new ones, though. After paying the compensation, I doubt you'll have the funds for such luxuries. As the movers continue to load my belongings onto the truck, I direct them, please deliver these to my new address. All of them there. I watch as the moving truck pulls away before getting into my own car. Where's that truck going? Ethan calls out, his voice tinged with concern. Where's the truck going? To my apartment, of course. The one I owned before your transfer. I put it up for sale with a real estate agent when you were transferred, but the price was set too high, and it never sold. I never let it go, despite the agent's repeated suggestions to lower the price. Who would have thought it would come to this? I fasten my seatbelt and chuckle. In a way, I might have been prepared for this, Ethan looks bewildered. I set the asking price higher than market value on purpose, so it wouldn't sell, allowing me to return if necessary, I explain. Ethan sinks to his knees, overwhelmed by my revelation. You heartless woman, he mutters. Martha charges at me, shoving me aside while yelling. As I groan in pain from the impact, she attempts to attack further by throwing a cutting board at me. Just then, a black figure darts into the fray, colliding with Martha and sending her sprawling to the ground with a startled cry. Thank you, Midnight, I say as I gather the stray cat, Midnight, into my arms. I quickly climb into the moving truck and speed away from the chaos. I'm not sure why Midnight appeared, but with his strong sense of justice, he must have come to my rescue. I promise to reward him with some treats later. Following the incident, Ethan and I finalize our divorce. My law firm files for compensation from Ethan and his parents. Nathan, the head attorney, takes on the case pro bono, using it as an opportunity to mentor the younger associates. Despite the young lawyers handling parts of the case, I feel reassured by Nathan's experience and support. Nathan also takes on Lily's lawsuit, pursuing both criminal and civil charges with renewed enthusiasm, as it had been a while since he handled a criminal case. After paying compensation to Lily and me, David's parents will likely have to sell their house, and it still might not cover everything. The idea of them facing a life of debt and poverty almost brings a smirk to my face. Now that I'm single, life without Ethan and his deceitful parents feels like a breath of fresh air. For now, I'll revel in my carefree single life in my apartment, enjoying the company of Midnight, the stray cat I brought with me.